Hello, and welcome to Varn Vlog. By the changes in surrounding, you can see I'm in my new office and studio. We'll probably be getting this all sorted out, so things are about to look a little different here. Not that it really matters. Our devotion, or my devotion, to a low-key DIY aesthetic remains what it is. Now, I'm here to talk about specifically something that I like to call the for what problem. The for what problem is when you hear an abstract verb such as organize or bureaucratize or systematize or politicize. The question you should always ask is for what and then how. All right. This should be obvious. It really should be obvious. But for so many people, you will hear, I'm an organizer. And people don't ask the question, not just what did you organize, but for what did you organize? Were you building up logistics trains? Were you making sure activists had supply lines? Were you getting bodies to fill out signatures? Were you trying to build a union base within your workplace? Was that union base salted or not? Was the salting popularly supported, or was it seen as an outside intervention? All right. For what starts that line of questioning? There are many abstract nouns. Again, organize, politicize, agitate. That a lot of political activists on the left, and there are versions of this on the right. This is not a unique to the left problem. This is a unique to human thinking problem, where you should really be asking for what did you organize? Not just what did you organize, but what was your goal? Did you achieve it? I've complained for decades now about the left's tendency to have the beautiful loser syndrome. And I don't mean that in the way that people say, oh, the left just likes losing, so they'll focus on losers. I mean, literally, they'll focus on people who win their initial campaign and fail at everything thereafter. They do not do anything that they initially said they were supposed to do. The for what imperative gets you to start asking the question, what are you doing this for, to another person and to yourself? All right, this ties into other questions, like when I ask, like, what do you think politics is? And people like the personal is political. I think a lot of that would be shut down by, in what ways is a personal is political, and for what do you insist on that? Like, what is your operant definitions, but also what have those operant definitions got you? I have very recently been moving away from my standard format of just being part of a very niche lefty discourse pattern. Now, a lot of people get mad and they don't love all the non-lefty stuff that I point out in the arts, or even people that I sincerely disagree with. Part of it is that a lot of you don't ask, for what am I doing this for? You know, and sometimes you guys go immediately, oh, someone must be grifting. Someone must have paid you off. And I don't take money from guests. Literally, never have, never will. You could check my financial records. They're not really public, but I'd make them public on that if you really ask me. The only thing I take money from this podcast for is literally the Patreon and then some ads from the free podcast feed that I approve because I usually for other podcasts. That's it. Right. I don't have clean enough aesthetic for it to be really profitable for people to do that. But also it maintains that you can ask, for what is Varn doing this for? He clearly thinks I need to hear this. Does not mean that I think you need to agree with all of it. And in a lot of my interviews recently, I really think you don't need to agree with some of them. There's one or two elements that I think are brilliant, but a lot of it I think is crap. I have to trust my audience to discern that. But I ask myself this too, because I am a quote organizer. I work with both worker centers and my union. Here in Utah, we had an organization to get organizing effort, not an organization, but although it did lead into an organization, to get signatures on a ballot to stop the barring of collective bargaining for public sector unions, which we succeeded at, although whether or not we actually succeeded at changing the law will be an entirely different scenario. But it's clear the for what there. Now, will the unions do everything they need to do with that? Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But we have a clear for what. But if I was to say I'm an organizer and it's just been like I collected signatures of like, 500 people or whatever in a signature effort that got like 300,000. That's both impressive, but it's actually a very limited thing that I've done. Like, whereas I built a charter that was for an organization that was democratically accepted by an organization of 300 people. And I had to go and talk to those 300 people, a lot of whom individually, to get feedback so that I considered their point of view in building the charter for this organization. And I built a charter that lasts. That's a good for what scenario. I mean, one is massively bigger than the other, but actually the second one is really complicated in what you have to do. That's vital when you start asking these kinds of questions. So always ask for what, particularly with these really common abstract verbs that are used on the left as nouns in ways that obscure what someone's actually doing. I'm an organizer. I mean, by itself, it doesn't tell you very much. Organization is repping the proletariat. Yeah, it is. But for what though? And how? Those follow-up questions are really important. And a lot of people have a Pavlovian response where they hear those abstract adjectives and they fall into political tribalism and their brain shuts off, and then they're mad they got conned. All right. Like I said, like and subscribe, hit the bell. A few updates. I am been having some medical stuff in addition to having to relocate my office due to flooding earlier in the year, and replace almost all of my equipment. Thank you, patrons, for making that possible. I would not have been able to do that or any of this without you guys' help. But I am having some medical issues, and I will be recording sporadically. While this is probably going to come out in September, maybe late August, I will probably be still taking August off for most of recording because I'll be having some pretty major surgery. We'll be back after that, and if everything goes well, and if everything don't go well, then you don't have to worry about it anyway. And we'll see how it all goes. My voice may actually change. Heads up. Maybe it'll make my voice deeper and more resonant. Kind of doubt it, but whatever. But I'm still producing stuff over on the Patreon side. I know a lot of things are tight right now. The economic prospects aren't super great for people. And I say that literally because a lot of the only profitable sectors of the economy right now that are doing anything over an anemic 1.5% of GDP growth, it's not even in services. It's like specifically in AI, and the AI has to do something in the rest of the economy to be profitable. And if the rest of the economy is not profitable, I highly doubt it'll stay. in that speculative venture GDP growth, but we'll see. But for a lot of people I know have been laid off or whatever, so I get it's a hard time. But if you have the money, you want to share it, you want to promote stuff like this, I could really use it right now. But also if you want to keep it, if you want to help the show, after the Patreon, leave a comment, like and subscribe. Even hostile comments are helpful, believe it or not. But if you want me to improve the show, also feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is publicly available. I might not respond to you, but I tend to respond to people who write letters and sometimes even include them in the show. I also tend to read comments, even if I don't interact with them. And sometimes they'll start a small video like this one. So if you want to interact with me, there's many ways to do it. Best way is Patreon. But also leaving comments here, reviewing the show. The podcast reviews of the actual podcast, maybe it's a change in formats. Zoomers, I hear, watch what they listen to. I don't really understand it, but that's why I'm on YouTube. We could use some positive reviews, so thank you there. And we have some stuff coming up again. As soon as I get a clear bill of health and I heal up from my surgery, which is on my throat, which is why there might be some voice changes and whatnot. We will see if there is a demand for it, but we have a series with Daniel Tutt on public intellectuals. I'm still doing my series with J.G. Michaels on contemporary politics and also on film. We kind of alternate what we're doing depending on what's going on. And you'll notice that I don't chase the ambulances on this channel. And there's a clear reason why. I don't think it's very helpful. It'll get me a lot more clicks. But those clickbait strategies tend to have a quick rise and fall pattern. And I've been pretty steadily growing at a slow pace for 4.5 years now. We're approaching 5 years of the show, coming up in 2006. So I appreciate all your support. And for an unmonetized YouTube channel, I have 7,000 subscribers, which in the grand scheme of things is nothing. But it's actually very rare for unmonetized channels to go much above 2,000. So thank you. For those of you who ask why I don't monetize, all my friends who monetize have so much problems with getting demonetized or getting videos pulled that I only have when I do an explicit copyright strike. Are explicitly violate the rules, which do seem to change constantly, but whatever. And being demonetized means that I don't have to deal with that as much. And so my videos tend to stay up. The videos that have been pulled down because I pulled them down. I've only pulled down 3 in 5 years. So anyway, long digression about the state of the show. Very short video. Thank you so much for following. Like and subscribe, hit the bell, and we're going to come back to this for what thing with some specific examples. Have a great day.